when you have different voices, women, different people from different backgrounds, it's much more successful. 15% more successful businesses are if they are having more of a diverse leadership team. So I think people are financially squandering talent, because if you get that brilliant talent that's invisible and you put it in the spotlight and you encourage people to be heard and be seen, I think it's good for business.
Welcome to Evoke Greatness, the podcast for bold leaders and big dreamers who refuse to settle. I'm your host, Sonnie, CEO, entrepreneur, and someone who's spent over 20 years building, leading, and learning what it really takes to rise. Every step of that journey has taught me something worth passing on. Lessons in business, leadership, resilience, and the psychology behind it all. Here, you'll hear raw conversations, unfiltered truths, and the kind of wisdom that ignites something deeper in you, your courage, your conviction, and your calling. This show will help you think bigger, lead better, and show up bolder in every part of your life and business. This is your place to grow. Let's rise together. I so appreciate that you walked through how that made you feel, because I think that's a missing element in so many people is they just know they feel this way. They don't realize that it may have been something that happened when we were younger that frankly we've been carrying with us in our bag, our bag of emotions and our bag of kind of traumas and things that made us feel some kind of way. We carry those around with us and we don't realize that they plant themselves in other parts of our life. And so you calling that out puts a name to it, it identifies it. So for people who feel like, I don't know why I feel this way, oftentimes it's because something that occurred early in your life that it impacted you emotionally and you've carried that with you.
Yeah, and I felt a bit of shame about, not being thin and beautiful. And I do remember around about the same kind of age, my great aunt, she's an old lady, like a Charles Dickens character. She used to be a schoolmistress back in the day. And I remember her looking down at me one time when we went for dinner, and I've written this in the book about Visibly Brilliant. It's about being the invisibles, the invisible superheroes. Why are we invisible? Is it our inner script telling us, being seen and not heard, don't be visible though, don't be visible. But my great aunt once said to me, look at those thick arms, when I was really young, about 6 or 7. And the thick arms comment, as in, large, I'm quite stocky. I'm never going to be thin. I'm short. I'm never going to be tall and slim with long limbs. But to point that out to a child, look at those thick arms. And that has really when I unpick, why am I embarrassed about myself? Why don't I want to put myself in the spotlight? I'm just not thin enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not clever enough. I can't read properly. I'm a bit stupid. I spent a lot of my life hiding that feeling, that inner feeling. I don't know about you, but I don't know if something happened to you that made you think that you had to be invisible. Could you put your finger on it yourself?
I remember being younger and let's say elementary school, and I was very curious and very engaged. And I think it was about the time when those social pressures come about, junior high-ish, and that everything shifted for me. I distinctly remember that I wasn't raising my hand to talk in class anymore. I wasn't going out of my way to do anything like that. It then became like, gosh, I wish I looked more like that person. I wish I had the friend group of that group. And I remember distinctly that became this moment in life when I didn't feel like I fit in. And that led all the way through high school. And so it's interesting. It's probably been in the last 10, 12 years that I've really kind of rediscovered or discovered in the first place this kind of world of personal development. And that has allowed me to have some personal discovery, which is really cool because I have really gotten more comfortable with leaning back into that childlike moment where I'm very curious. I want to know everything about everything. And it's okay for me to ask it. And I want to sit in the front row when I'm anywhere. I want to sit at that very first, in that front row. I want to raise my hand. I want to ask questions. I want to engage. And so it's interesting how I went a large portion of my life, junior high-ish to 35-ish, feeling like I just didn't belong. And
Why didn't you belong? That's really strange.
Yeah.
What,
I
in
think
what way didn't you belong, do you think?
it just formed so strongly, I think, at that young age when social pressures and friend groups and, I was raised by a single mom. And so we didn't have a whole lot, and she did everything she could to make sure we had what we had. But I certainly didn't have like the brand name anything. And so I think that's that age where that starts to stand out. People's brand name clothes or the things they get to go do versus having the same shoes a couple school years in a row or things like that. There starts to become a distinction, a separation. And so I felt that, but I felt it in a way that I felt very isolated by it. And so I held on to that, and I just that became my identity. And today, or, over the course of the last 10, 12 years, it's really been less about, I don't know that I feel like I belong anywhere. I just feel like I have the ability to exist everywhere.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's so funny because I was also raised by a single mum. I'm from quite a big family. My dad died when I was quite young, which I used to just think that my lack of confidence could have been because we had a trauma early in life. But it's really interesting, isn't it? How you are, whatever story you've told yourself, the script inside you, it does stay with you. One of the scripts in my my inner script was that I knew I had to be independent. I knew I had to make my own money. I knew I couldn't rely on my mum because I'm from a big family and, she couldn't really cope very well. So I've always been very, very, I'm a fighter. I've been a fighter. I've always been able to cope. I've been very resilient. But in a way, it was almost, my sort of, my resilience and the show must go on attitude that's part of my core, my personality. However, there was something somewhere along the line, I've labeled myself, dumb, bit of an idiot. And one of my brothers is very, very clever. He plays piano like Mozart, and he went to public school. He got lots of scholarships, and he's really, really, really brainy. He was 4 years ahead of his maths class. And so I thought, if you're clever, that's clever. So I thought, even though I've done really well in my exams, I've got a degree, I don't know how much proof I needed. I just thought I was dumb. It's so silly, isn't it? When you look back on it now, and now I know. But isn't it interesting when you realize, when you start reading books about psychology and personal development, you realize, my gosh, maybe I that's not true. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I'm not dumb. Maybe my brain is wired in a different way. Actually, I'm quite good at some stuff. Actually, I'm quite creative. Actually, I'm really good at, reading the room. Now I can confidently say, I'm really good at helping people to be more confident. I'm really, really good at it. And not only that, I love it. And I am so motivated to spread the word, to help give people more tools and more tricks and strategies to build their confidence and to name the thing that might be holding them back and to come clean about how they feel about themselves and to celebrate the way their brain is wired,
Absolutely. Yes.
And so, isn't that funny though? Because when I talk now, it's as if, haven't you always been like that? But I haven't always been like that. I haven't been free to say, I thought I was dumb. I wasn't free to say those things before. And I think when you really discover your personality type and you unlock your core, your inner talents, your abilities, it's a game changer, isn't it, Sonnie? You've done it.
It really is. It really is. That's, it's interesting. And I think sometimes it's the perspective of we can look inward at our stories and what's shaped us along the way. What our narrative, right? It's the story that we've told ourselves about ourselves. And sometimes we think, oh, it's just us. But you work with politicians, you work with people who are in the limelight that still battle with this. It's not just, it just is maybe less visible to the external eye.
Yeah, you know what I've realized is that every single person, no, you wouldn't believe this, every single person is human. And every single human isn't 100% sorted. Every single human has flaws. Every single human worries about themselves, feels shame. They don't feel 100% confident all the time. Every human is wired in a certain way. We all have that feeling of the voice of doubt on our shoulder, no matter how senior we are, no matter how experienced or no matter how confident we appear. Every human has got some doubt about themselves, unless they are wired in the way which is very rare, where they think, I am so brilliant. Not that many people really think they are that brilliant. And anyone that says, I am so brilliant, they're probably lying.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Is there an idea in the book that you think would genuinely surprise people? When they look at the book Visibly Brilliant, what would surprise them?
I think people would be surprised at how common it is for the people in their team or themselves, how common it is to be the invisible superhero. The invisible superhero, the person at the back who wears dark clothes and they work really hard. There are so many of these people. And I think the shocking thing is that if you help people come out of the shadows and into the spotlight, or if that's you and you're wearing dark clothes and you're not wearing bright clothes because you want to be invisible, but really you're a secret superhero, the shocking thing is that you could be making the business better. You could be growing the business. You could be making more money. I think there's so much talent being squandered all over the world in many, many businesses. And also we want more diversity in business. So when you have different voices, women, different people from different backgrounds, it's much more successful. 15% more successful businesses are if they are having more of a diverse leadership team. So I think people are financially squandering talent, because if you get that brilliant talent that's invisible and you put it in the spotlight and you encourage people to get their voice, to be heard and be seen, I think it's good for business. I think that's the shocking thing. There aren't enough people being seen that have all this talent that could be making, doing better business for you.
Okay, quick pause to tell you about my partners at Row Nutrition. I came to them as a customer first. I have both Hashimoto's and I am smack dab in the middle of perimenopause. Their liposomal supplements have been a game changer for my brain fog, fatigue, and inflammation. I'm currently taking their NAD+, glutathione, and curcumin, and I recently added in both collagen and creatine. Anyone who knows me knows I only put my name behind what I actually use, and Row has earned it. You can use the code SONNIE15, SONNIE15 for 15% off at rownutrition.com, or you can click the link in the show notes and it'll take you right there. All right, let's hop back into the episode. And for those leaders who are out there who have someone on their team, their face popped in your mind. For those leaders who are listening today, what is one or two things that they could do to draw those folks out, the ones they know are trying to stay invisible? How can they help invite them into contributing to the team or to the company, just showing up more?
I think talk, communication, share. I think reverse mentoring is really good. That's quite popular at the moment. A lot of my clients are doing reverse mentoring programs. However, I think the most powerful thing is a bit like what Michelle Obama used to do. Michelle Obama came out and said, you can't be what you can't see. You need to get people like you, like me, at the front saying, I wasn't perfect. Look at me. I was scared. I'm still scared, but I have a voice. I've got some talent. I bet you've got talent, but you're not showing it. We don't want to hear from the same very confident people all the time. We want to hear from different people. So having more role models, that's how you can encourage people to come out of the shadows.
What do you think is the difference between someone who walks in a room and owns it and somebody who just enters a room?
Well, with my producer's hat on, there are physical things that you can do to help you have more presence and impact. And I remember when I did one of my first sessions that I did with the team at Deloitte, and I talked about my power of the pose model. The way that you hold yourself makes a massive difference to the way that you are perceived. So if you want to have presence and impact and you want to own the room, I've got my little pose formula, POSE. P, posture. Just by standing well, you know this, Sonnie, I think you've done a lot of personal development, and you know that in terms of performance, whether you're speaking or whether you're in a meeting, just by putting your shoulders back and standing well, just like the TED Talk, the Amy Cuddy TED Talk from Harvard talks about, which is when you stand well, you physically gain more confidence. That's the science behind it. But in terms of people looking at you, if you stand well, that gives you a higher status. It gives you more gravitas. If you are planted and you are self-assured, gravitas comes from the word gravity. So, the weight. Think of the weight in your feet. Think of being grounded, being solid. So having that power of feeling the ground beneath you and really holding your space, it's purely physical, but that makes a massive difference. So pose, posture, P. O is, in my little acronym, simply means for energy. Just thinking about your energy. When you walk in the room, what energy do you have? Do you have positive energy? Do you have active energy, or do you have slightly awkward energy? Do you have male energy? Maybe more female energy? What's your energy? Or just a little bit of something that just gives you that extra riz, we call it, which is short for charisma. And then, so POS, speech. Maybe you don't speak. Maybe it's the way you hold yourself. That's how you're going to own the room. But when you start speaking, are you putting up the volume, or are you slightly hiding your voice, like mumbling? Funnily enough, I've discovered this. I've done quite a lot of research. When you are afraid and when you are worried, the first thing to go actually is your voice. And I've done quite a lot of voice coaching, and I've got loads of tips of how to have a better, more compelling, more impactful voice. All I can say is if you want to own the room, don't hide your voice. Don't let it croak. And if you stand well, it's really good for your voice. So you've got posture. You've got a bit of oomph. You've got energy. You've got a bit of you've dialed up your voice quite clear, a little bit louder than usual, but not too loud. You don't have to be loud to have impact, but you do need to be unadulterated. You don't want to be ashamed of your voice. And then finally, in E, P-O-S-E, the E in pose, eyes and teeth, smile. And the combination of the power of the pose and the warmth of the smile, that gives you really strong stage presence. So next time you enter the room, think, my power pose, a bit of oomph, a nice, strong voice, nice and clear, a bit slower, and smile. And just that little combination of actions will help you own the room.
I love it.
I bet you do it automatically, Sonnie.
Yes. Yeah, then it becomes how you hold yourself and how you enter a room. And the more we practice, the more we are repetitive in our actions, the more it creates outcomes, and it becomes a way of being for us naturally.
Absolutely. It's all in that. It's habit. It's about the habit of holding yourself and making it an everyday physical activity, particularly in meetings as well, particularly for women. For women,
Yes.
it's about power and warmth. Because if you've only got power and it could be a bit scary. And if you've only got like warmth and smiling and nice, it can come across as low status. So it's the combination of the power and the warmth. That is the good recipe, don't you think?
100%. And it's learning that balance. And you have to play with it a little bit. Sometimes you'll come off a little warmer and not quite as, or, vice versa. And then you learn to find that rhythm. And I think that rhythm is where you start getting you're elevating your presence. You're elevating being able to take up more space and being okay with it. And I think that then everybody finds their own balance of what feels good.
Absolutely. So that's one of my kind of foundation, the best mini communication lesson of all time, because it kind of works on every level and on camera. It would help if I could put more makeup on, but I feel I actually stand on camera. I'm standing up now. I feel it gives you a little bit more, gives you that oomph, it gives you that power, it gives you that energy.
Love it. Love it. Well, we're already at an hour. I can't believe it. I think we could just keep going on and on and on. As we wrap up, there's a question that I always love to ask all of my guests, and that is of all you have learned and the wisdom you've received in your lifetime, if today were your last day on earth and you got the opportunity to share to impart one piece of advice or wisdom out to the world, what would that be?
Be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. And I've stolen that from Oscar Wilde.
And it's so fitting, though. It's so fitting, especially with the book, especially with your zone of genius and what you're showing up and sharing based on your experiences. Now you're sharing with the world. Esther, I will have all of this in the show notes, but where can people find you, follow you, if they want to bring you in to their organization or their corporate team to work with them? How do they do that?
Well, it would be my pleasure if you want to talk to me about getting a bulk load of my book and then running a session. I could run masterclasses for you. It's very easy to find me. My name is Esther Stanhope, spelled Esther. I'm on LinkedIn. I've got a website. If you Google me or look me up or look at any search engine, I normally come up very easily. So please link in with me or contact me through my website or buy the book. It's on Amazon.
Excellent. Well, we will have all of the links to that. You will literally just be able to go and click and get a copy or 100 copies of the book if you want to. I definitely
Yay!
encourage everyone. These are the things that if we share openly and vulnerably with one another, guess what? We all get better. And there's opportunity, there is space for everybody to grow and get better. So, Esther, thank you so much for your time, for sharing all of your wisdom from your career and what you're contributing now to the world.
Thank you so much, Sonnie. It's an absolute pleasure. Namaste.
Okay, stay with me for just a second before you go. Living with Hashimoto's and being in the middle of perimenopause means brain fog shows up in the middle of conversations, decisions, and moments that matter. And I refuse to stay there. I'm very selective about what I put in my body. Intentional. So when Meraki Blue came to me wanting to support this community, I said yes because I already believed in what they do. Methylene Blue, mitochondrial health, cognitive performance, mental clarity. It works for me. I want it to work for you too. Meraki Blue is giving the Evoke Greatness community 20% off. Use the code EVOKE GREATNESS, all caps, no spaces at checkout. I promise you, your brain isn't broken. It's just waiting on the right support. If today's episode challenged you, moved you, or lit a fire in your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's ready to rise in their leadership, their business, and their life. And if you haven't already, I'd be so grateful if you took 30 seconds to rate and review the podcast. It's one of the most powerful ways to support the show and help us reach more bold leaders like you. Because this isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. We're not here to play small. We're here to lead loud and elevate how we think, lead, and execute, one bold and unapologetic step at a time. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and make moves that make mediocre uncomfortable.